I drew these pictures of spinners, and it's kind of a joke, but there's a point to it. Okay, if you're reading a problem and you have several quantities given, you're going to generally want to identify, if you're working with uniform acceleration, initial velocity, final velocity, acceleration, displacement, time interval. Well, the way to do that is not to flip the spinner and choose whatever you land on. Okay? And, well, yeah, that's not what people are doing. People are not using the spinner. People are usually doing a pretty good job of identifying these quantities. So this is not relevant. Nobody does this. At least nobody in this class. Don't see any evidence that anybody is using a spinner. However, I do see some evidence that some people might be using a spinner. At least what I see isn't necessarily inconsistent with the idea that some people might be using a spinner to decide whether to add, subtract, multiply, or divide any two quantities, and maybe another spinner just to pick which two quantities. Okay, maybe use this spinner, and if you get V naught and delta S, then use this spinner and decide whether you add, subtract, divide, or multiply. Having correctly identified these 5 quantities, or at least the 3 quantities that were typically given, pair them up and hit the spinner to decide what operation to use. Well, nobody is actually doing this, but in some of the solutions I'm seeing, I can't tell for sure that people aren't doing this, because there seems to be just kind of a randomness about what gets multiplied, added, subtracted, divided. Okay, it doesn't seem to be proceeding from the definitions in the way that it should. So my stress today is, let's really be clear on what it means to use the definitions, to verify things with the definitions, etc. Okay, to avoid this appearance, the cure, if a cure is necessary, use units, because, for example, if you're asked to, if you decide to add a quantity that's in units of meters to a quantity that's in units of seconds, that makes no sense. You can't add meters to seconds. How much is 10 meters plus 14 seconds? The question makes no sense. Nor does the question, okay, let's add 15 meters per second to 8 meters per second squared. No, that doesn't make any more sense. Meters per second can't be added to meters per second squared. They measure something completely different. So if you use the units and you happen to multiply when you should divide, divide when you should multiply, it's going to tell you, because you're not going to get the units of the quantity that you're trying to find. And if you have incompatible units in addition and subtraction, it's going to tell you you can't do that operation. So one cure for this is to use units. Of course, the main cure, okay, that's one cure. Would be to check your intuition, which is very important, and which is what people tend to use more than a rigorous analysis. And it's fine to use your intuition as long as you check it against the definitions. Okay, now clearly nobody's using a spinner to make these decisions, but the decisions from where I stand in some cases appear to be somewhat random, and there's no justification for why you did this operation, or what the units are, or if the units are compatible, or what the units work out to be and what they should work out to be. So very important to do these things.